In the competitive world of wrestling, there's a time for Hammer Live and there's also a time for Situational Live. Both are live wrestling, but they're designed for two different things. And the mistake usually isn't from mixing them into your week of wrestling, it's running the wrong kind of live when competition is coming up. Hi, my name is Jacob, and this is my channel Under the Fig Tree FM. This is a space where I discuss the things I learned from different ventures in my life. And the season I'm in right now is this is my first year as an assistant coach at a D3 wrestling program. For this episode, I will be discussing earning versus sharpening and how managing your intensity budget keeps your training from working against you. All right, so let me define live wrestling. I mean full resistance, real reactions, real scrambles, high intensity, things like that. And that applies for both Hammer Live and Situational Live. And the difference isn't in effort, it's in structure. So one format, that's going to emphasize output. The other is going to emphasize precision. Both, I believe, are essential in a week of practice, but I do believe they should be applied differently. So I'm sure most wrestlers are familiar with the term Hammer Live, and the reason being is because it does suck. You are going to remember it. And the gritty name kind of gives it away. You know it's going to be a tough one when they name it after a blue-collar tool like the hammer. But how I like to set it up is I like groups of 4. Some people like groups of 3. But you would assign them a number. So 1 versus 2, 1 versus 3, 1 versus 4. Then 1's out. 2's the new hammer, 2 versus 3, 2 versus 4, 2 versus 1. And that's how it's structured. But you could imagine how tough it's going to be for that guy in the middle who's constantly in there for the whole time with new guys coming in. It's definitely one that builds your conditioning, your grit, mental mentality. It's good for that. And this is where you're earning rather than sharpening. But you don't want to go over your budget of your wear and tear cost because there is a cost to it and you have a budget for the week. So you don't want to lean on it too much or it's going to start taking more than it gives. So now it's time to talk about Situational Live, and as a former student of the sport, this was always one of my favorite formats of live wrestling, probably because it wasn't as exhausting as the group live. But how this one works is you would get into a situation of advantage, or it could be a situation of equal opportunity, like a scramble or something, but you get into like a sweep single or a headlock position, and you would do a 30-second go, and after that, they would do theirs, as opposed to the group live, and that will be like 2 minutes of what I like to put for that. And also how I like to structure this one is I like to give them a variety rather than having them in groups, wrestling the same people. They could wrestle whoever, so after that go, they would find a random partner, and that's how they get different exposure, things like that. It helps them out with that. So that's what I like to do. And an advantage of this one is I believe there's less ego involved when it comes to Situational Live because it's like, oh, he was supposed to take me down. He had a sweep single on me. And obviously it's their job not to let that happen. But I do see that there's less injuries involved when it comes to Situational Live as opposed to group live. And that could be for a variety of different reasons. One of them is I know that group live is more exhausting, and when you're more exhausted, you're more likely also to get hurt. So that could be another reason why. But you could definitely see that there's advantages to Situational Live. And like I said before, I think that group live is for earning and Situational Live is for sharpening. And the reason I say that is because when you get onto like a double leg or a sweep single leg, and then you can wait, the whistle blows, and then you go, you have time to think about what you're going to do, as opposed to group live when, you shoot for a leg and now it's go, go, go. You have less time to think, you're more tired. So I think this is more about sharpening rather than earning, and it definitely should be thrown in the mix of your wrestling regimen. So assuming there's competition at the end of the week, and this also does work if there's competition during the middle of the week, like Wednesday, which is common, this is how I like to structure my regimen using these two methods. So I would start off with Hammer Live, and this is where we're earning, we're trying to get our conditioning up, get our mentality right, just getting tougher. And during the middle of the week, if there is no competition, we're just trying to manage that volume. We're trying not to go over the budget of the wear and tear cost. There is a budget for that. You don't want to beat your guys up the whole week. You have to be strategic about it. There's different things we could do during practice that's not beating each other up. Then we're going to transition to situational live, and that's when we're sharpening the tools that we already have by putting ourselves in situations, and we're doing it in a way that we're not going to get hurt for the competition that's coming up. So that's how I like to structure my week, using those two methods of live. Well, that's it for this episode of Under the Fig Tree FM. Whether you're a coach or a wrestler, I would love to hear what your opinion is in the comment section on Hammer Live versus Situational Live. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and by the grace of God, do your job. Thank you. Bye-bye.